This is the Welcome to Humanity podcast with thought leader and transformative psychiatrist, Dr. Fred Moss. This show focuses on the betterment of humanity on a global scale. Each episode will leave you enlightened, inspired, and ready to make an impact in your world. Welcome to the show. Welcome to your life. Welcome to humanity. Here's Dr. Fred.
Today, I'm joined by a guest who I know pretty little about. So at the same point, you'll be meeting her. I'll be meeting her. And, I know Kara a little bit from my work at the Curious Forge here in Grass Valley. And we've had Kara's counterpart, Liam, on as a guest before. And that was just a wonderful conversation. So Kara's got some big shoes to fill as being a Curious Forge founder. And so we're going to learn a little bit more about what Kara's role is at the Forge and also really what makes Kara tick. And it's just a pleasure to have you here, Kara. It's been a long time coming. So thanks for joining us today on the Welcome to Humanity podcast.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fred. I appreciate the invite.
It really is a great opportunity. And, Kara, you mentioned that you had not read or not listened to any of the previous podcasts. So maybe the format here is something new, an organic format, one where the conversation arises from the conversation that preceded it. Each and every one of us is really dealing with something, right? No matter whether we're tackling some of the big problems in the world or maybe even the tiny ones, we all face challenges. Now, I've been a psychiatrist for many years, and I've worked with all kinds of people from all walks of life. I've worked with more people than I can really count, from various backgrounds, dealing with more issues than you can imagine, of all sizes and shapes. So naturally, over time, I've developed a number of ways to assist others in gaining a new sense of freedom and empowerment. Now, I'm pulling back the curtain on one of those methodologies, and I'm going public, revealing the process and associated mindset that contributed to using this particular method with maximum effectiveness. It's all laid out in my new book called Creative 8, Healing Through Creativity and Self-Expression. You can pick this book up on Amazon.com in either Kindle or paperback format. And as a listener to the Welcome to Humanity podcast, I'd like to offer you a completely free copy in audiobook format. Just go to welcometohumanity.net/creative and download your free audiobook copy of Creative 8 today. I really look forward to hearing about your Creative 8 breakthrough. Now let's get back to this amazing conversation. Welcome to humanity. We get started frequently with what I call the 9-letter, 3-word question, and it really throws people back on their heels sometimes, but it's a great question, and it's one that at least gives us a starting point, nothing to be afraid of, and there's only 9 letters in the whole question, and it's grammatically correct and everything. And so here's the question, Kara. Kara Asilanis, who are you?
Yeah. Ryan mentioned that little 9-letter question, and I've been thinking about it. And, I haven't come up with anything,
That's great.
Really pithy or anything sounded pretty trite. I am at a particularly raw time in my life. I lost 3 family members in less than a year and a half, and it certainly, has shaken up my world, made me think about their lives and my life. And there's only one word that really came up for me, and that is I'm determined.
Yeah. Well, first of all, heartfelt prayers and condolences for the losses in your family. And I know that some of them were actually quite close to you as well. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
We could even go into grief here. We could go into, what happens when your mainstays, people in your life are here and then they're gone.
Right.
You didn't even know you were counting on them to provide some form of definition to your life. And now that's not there. And a new life arises. Yeah.
That is absolutely it. You have this fabric of your life, and then somebody is lost, and that fabric is torn. Mm-hmm. And it's unmooring for a while, and you do realize how much, obviously, they mean to you. Even if you knew it before, it's obviously in more relief now that they're gone. So, yeah, just, if reflecting on what I've learned, everyone's a teacher, and just what can I gain from this loss is how I try to look at it. I want to come back in a fuller and more strong way, because I think it's the only way to really honor and celebrate someone's life is to live well yourself.
Now, these were immediate family members or
I
who?
most recently lost my brother and my mom and dad last year.
Well, totally immediate then.
Yeah,
Yeah, doesn't get more immediate than that. And
no.
so, yeah, these are mainstays. Is this your older brother?
It's my younger brother. I
Your
lost my
younger.
older brother 20 years ago.
All
So
right.
I'm the one left.
You're the one left of the five of you.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, Kara, that really is something. And I get that, we have determination as your backdrop, who you call yourself as and who we know you as, by the way. And how does determination take on the loss of a mother, brother, and father?
Well, like I said, to, determined to come back stronger and, be more fully myself in any way that I can. I want to live in peace in myself. And I'm human, and we all have human emotions, and grief and sadness is definitely part of it. And when I really mind those things, and I've been given time, I've had other losses, you do discover a more rich and full depth of yourself, because you don't feel that kind of grief if you didn't love. So you've loved if you feel that way about somebody
That's
leaving.
great. So, a rich and full depth of yourself gets discovered with these losses, and that I guess what you're saying is this confirmation of love is the experience you're now having in raw grief.
Right, right.
Phenomenal, really. And maybe this isn't the direction we thought we were going, but here we are, 6 minutes into the conversation,
Yeah.
and we're exploring this is what humanity is, Kara. I mean, you mentioned we are all human, and there's something like, yep, that's, one of the flows of life. In fact, the only inevitable flow of life is that it includes death as a loss. And, we're left with, okay, growing stronger from our loss, like, getting a richer, more in depth life. How has that manifested? Is there something there with the Forge, or is there something there with other activities that you're up to? Tell us a little bit about who you are at the Curious Forge. And you might as well tell us again what the Curious Forge was. Leon gave us a little clue back in his conversation, but I'd love to hear your view of what that place is and what it means to you. And has it changed its meaning in the last year with these major familial losses?
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'm co-founder along with Liam, and Liam's definitely the visionary, and I'm the nuts and bolts person. And so we complement each other really well, and it's a big reason why we've been able to continue, because he takes care of one part of it, and I keep the engine running. And it's an art center. It's also called a maker space. We have 20,000 square feet and 13 different areas for making, right? From welding to textiles, ceramics. And, we've provided a place that enables people to make what matters to them. And that's something that I've always loved about our mission. I really believe in it. I think I'm ultimately a big enabler, and so it fits that I get to do this and help people do that. I've also discovered how much I love being on a collaborative team. That is really satisfying to me. I love being a part of something and bringing everything I have. I can't do it all, but I know I have a part in creating with other people. And I'm also an artist, and I've often thought, well, if I didn't have the Forge, I would, I'd go back to more time with my art. But I don't have a drive to be, this great artist or anything. I really love what I do, but I find even more satisfaction in creating with other people.
So you have this collaborative team, and you have, this opportunity to create with other people, and then create a space for us, the patrons of the Curious Forge, who get an opportunity in your presence to make what matters to us. And, the level of importance that we get, the level of, I don't know, back to sort of an affirmation that we get by making the things that are important to us or that matter to us. And there's like a new space that I want to explore, which is, ultimately working with people sort of as what is it? Working with people creating art is different than creating your own art. It's using artistry, your people skills perhaps, to bring people together and create a space where we can design what matters to us. I've never been in a place like the Curious Forge before I got there. I've never seen anything so cooperative and so comprehensive and so inviting. And even in these difficult times, or maybe especially in these difficult times, we've had, it's a light, it's a shining light here in Nevada County. And what went into that? What is the history of Kara that has it be that, of course, you landed with Liam and then created this wonderful space? We have your artistry, right? What kind of media? What is it that you do? Are you a painter?
I'm a painter, acrylic painter. And I've also become a metal artist through being involved with the Forge. And, just being with people, it's incredibly inspiring to see what people are up to talk to them. It's an amazing opportunity that in this place, the Curious Forge, we can bring together so many different people, types of people, and different skills and walks of life and ages and everything. And, you just, inspiration is right around the corner. You just talking to people about what they're doing or getting together and saying, let's do this together, that sort of thing. And yeah, I really have grown up in a certain way with the Forge because it's a passion. It pulls me forward. It makes me stretch myself. So, I'm not making myself go out and do these things. I want to, but it's things like maybe I'd never done before. I mean, I've had never done interviews, never been on video before this, never talked to groups. And so I got to explore and learn about that part of myself. And it was really fueled by the Forge itself and the mission and the passion for making it happen.
Mm-hmm. Are you finding yourself leaning on the Forge even more now in the last year? Or, we've obviously had some very challenging times. You've had to close down a couple times or certainly reduce or create different policies and protocols in the building and, and for the membership. It's an interesting juxtaposition that you should lose 3 people in the same year for which, you'd have to be making all sorts of external changes anyways.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I have to admit that was challenging. But during some of the shutdowns that we had, Liam and I were able to still work in the space. And it actually gave us time to do some things we'd really been wanting. Infrastructure, we expanded areas, we got more art in the areas, we created a gallery. And it gave us a time to really evaluate where we want to take the Forge, how we want it to be, and got us to focus again on what's our top priorities. And community, connection, collaboration are tops. We're always, create events that have opportunities for people to experience us and become members because we really want this place utilized. It's an incredible space, amazing what's here, and we want more people to experience it. We think creating with your own hands, making your own stuff is so empowering and very healing. It has been amazing since the first shutdown when we were able to welcome in new members. So many people are coming and so they're so motivated. They come in and they start getting certified and they start creating. And I think everyone's been evaluating what's really important in my life and where do I want to put my energies. And I think we're benefiting from that.
Yeah. Most people who are listening to us have never been to the Curious Forge. Perhaps they've been to maker spaces, but it really is an astonishing space. It has, everything I can think of, sort of a dormant, rudimentary artist, wannabe kind of person myself. And, it has lit me up in various areas from, lasers and 3Ds to metallurgy to wood to textiles to clay, ceramics, and then all the painting and the sewing machines and all the glass blowing and my goodness,
Yeah.
I think I'm only really just touching a little bit of it even. I suppose that's overarching. There's other areas, but we're not just talking about small spaces dedicated to those subtopics. We're talking about a true place to, pull up your sleeves and spread your wings and create. And it's amazing that the equipment's and the people, the networking is already there to allow somebody who hasn't done it for years to show up and even on their first visit get reinfused
Yes.
with a creativity that maybe has been lost for some time or is ready to be relit.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's extraordinary. What were you doing before you were doing the Curious Forge?
Well, I was still working full time. In fact, most of the time we've done the forge, I've been working full time. I was an administrative assistant for a software development company, and I was painting. I had been part of Artworks Gallery here on Mill Street in Grass Valley. That's a co-op art gallery, so I was selling work there,
Mm-hmm.
doing more online with my art, doing shows, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
My son had just gone to college a year or two before we started the forge. So, yeah, it was a whole new time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And, the forge definitely gave me purpose.
Mm-hmm. What was the Forge before the Forge was the Forge? What was that building?
The first building we were in,
Or what, the space itself, it was there before it was the Curious Forge, yes? Or, I mean, it was a building of some nature that got.
well, we just rented space. We rented 1,000 square feet, and Liam pretty much emptied out his garage of all his metalworking equipment, and that's how we started. And we
Wow.
slowly built from there. I think we had one ceramic wheel at the time, a little bit of woodworking. So it was very organic. Like 12 people started this thing back in 2011. And, as different people have shown up, we would create new areas. We moved to a larger space, and then we had this opportunity to come here and really create the larger vision that we had.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but it's been very organic. The gal who pretty much is responsible for our jewelry area just came and said, I want to help create this.
Mm-hmm.
And we put a lot of effort and resources into that and did that. So we do love that nature of it, just how people in the community have come and become a part of it.
Thank you. I wonder if we can take a dive into where art fits in the world, well, in all of our worlds. So we are immersed in life on the outside. We are affected by our outside, our external environment to whatever degree we're affected. And then we have these personal experiences, yours, for instance, of multiple grief episodes, multiple grieving events this year, and others who are grieving, or others who are, maybe even having new children or getting married or being relocated or having lost their job or even having now picked up new jobs or acquiring new skills or new ways to gather or virtual reality that is, just streaming in on us. And all the while, there's a center space down there called the Curious Forge. And it's like, for me, I almost leave it like a haven. Sometimes I feel ashamed that, or maybe not ashamed. I feel like, oh, I don't take enough advantage of the forge. My life eats me up and I don't get out there enough. And each time I go there, it is like a haven, like a vacation, a space for me to see and be with people expressing themselves, and then to express myself in ways that I didn't even know I could do. So, how does art and art manufacturing interface with all of life as it's occurring to us minute after minute?
Yeah, it's a really important question, and it's essential because creating, we like to say making is soul craft. And when you create, it connects you to yourself, very something in yourself very solid and grounded. And it's rejuvenating, it's healing, it is outside the realm of the everyday or anything that can get you down, and it's an important space. And even if you just appreciate art, or and
Mm-hmm.
you bring it in, and we just are more than you know the work we do out there in the world. And you create art for all sorts of reasons. I've always just wanted to be able to express life as I see it, so I do that in my painting. I'm a poet, and I'm just compelled to express, to try to express, to try to grasp something that I'm experiencing it and put it out there.
When you paint, do you know what you're going to paint? I know Alexandra, my wife is quite an artist in her own right. And when you're painting, when you sit down in a canvas or whatever your platform is that you're painting on, Do you know what it is you're going to paint, or you just get started with brush strokes and, see what emerges?
Most of the time, I have some idea. I have some picture in mind that I want to paint. That said, it only serves as a framework. I'll get started with that form, so to speak, and then the painting takes over. There's a mystery to it that I love. As I'm painting, I'm having all sorts of thoughts, the usual inner critic thoughts about what I'm doing and blah, 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 right? But I keep going, and there's a period it's like, well, it's working, it's not working, it's not, oh, it's working, oh, it's really working. That's the magic. I
Yeah.
kind of just let whatever is going through me take over at that point. And so it starts with a certain idea, and then it'll become whatever it'll become. And sometimes it surprises me.
And how did you know you're done?
That's also a good question. Part of why I work with acrylics is that you can't fudge with it forever, like oils that stay wet, because you can kind of go on too much. You can get doubtful and question yourself. So there's just something I'm looking for to happen in that painting, and it's there, and I know I'm done.
I get it. It's almost like a resonance, like okay, I'm done. Almost like
Yeah,
when you take the last bite of a meal, like okay, that's it.
exactly. Yeah. It's like, yep, one bite left, but I'm done. This is it. This
Yes,
is good.
beautiful. What's your double down in this last year with all these external events and now your internal events? If anything, have you noticed in your relationship with the Curious Forge or with your art as a response or a reaction or an expression of the losses and changes and shifting that we're all being asked to do, but maybe you more than most?
Yeah, I think a greater commitment to, I think balance is an overused word, but certainly to take more time out for myself outside the forge. It's really easy to do, spend all my time here. There's times I've been burnout.
Mm-hmm.
So I take more time to pursue other things, whether it's reading or usually for me, it's something pretty quiet. And I also want to utilize the forge more for myself, come in and do some of the things we're always encouraging other people to do because we run into that same issue ourselves. Life takes over. And then the other thing is to proceed in every effort with more and more ease, to expect a good outcome, to believe in the people, to basically not worry as much and look forward to the things we want to do.
So more and more ease and not worrying and looking forward. I going to go out on a limb a little bit here. Some of the reading I've been doing recently has been Napoleon Hill's work, and there's an your thoughts, he says, are what we have access to really altering. And I've never really heard anyone say that before. I've always, even in growth and development courses or in studies that I've had in the past, this idea of like controlling my thoughts, having, the framework or the context of my thoughts be in my domain. I have access to how I'm looking at the world. And,
Mm-hmm.
there's something, what you're saying here is that a commitment to greater ease, a commitment to less worry, to looking forward, to somehow having a positive mental attitude is what I'm hearing here. And the forge both serves as a place for which you can do that as a participant, you can do that as the leader there, and you can do it outside of the forge. Like
Right.
there's
Mm-hmm.
something about having life work and sort of choosing not pain, you know?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly it.
Yeah.
I don't know about controlling your thoughts. Your thoughts are going to come, but definitely choosing which thought you're going to take that path down.
Mm-hmm.
I have my habitual, thoughts that come up that, for me is pretty self-critical. I can be way too self-critical, and I really have looked to change that and to question that and to ask myself, how do I want to feel here right now? And let myself imagine that. That's a minute by minute effort. It's
It
like,
is. Mm-hmm.
just like, is this thought feeling good? Then it's probably not for me. And I'm going to question it, and I'm going to let myself feel and imagine how I want it to go.
Mm-hmm.
And, I do that a lot. In particular, we maybe have a busy week coming up, and, I'm starting to get uptight about that and, get really contracted. And I just like, you know what? I'm going to imagine this happening. There's plenty of time. Everything falls into place. I have the thoughts that I need. I have the ideas that I need when they required. And, it really works. That's the thing. It's like when I really do remember to do that, I experience that.
Mm-hmm. It is extraordinary. I hear you. And even today, I've gone through a couple of those existential decisions, little crossroads, intersections in my life where misery or fear or worry or helplessness or hopelessness, is right there for the taking.
Yes, exactly.
It is, it is sitting right on the shelf. No problem.
Mhm.
I can absolutely take a bite out of any of those and then taste those things instantly.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting, even that those would be compelling, is already interesting. From a human nature point, why would that be exciting or interesting to me to take a bite out of those things? But there is this other you're pointing towards on the same shelf, maybe down to the right, are these choices of freedom or ease or grace or flow or looking forward or adventure, things that are positive vibrations that are also available to just take a bite of off the shelf.
Exactly.
Mhm,
Exactly.
mhm.
We sort of, you grow up and you get your habitual habits of thinking, and you sort of just have this focus on this certain shelf, like you said. But if you widen your periphery, everything else is available to you. It is totally up to you how you respond to whatever's going on.
Well, the catalyst here for me, or a catalyst. So, I don't know how much that my life is shifting pretty drastically, along with many others. But
Hmm.
I'm sort of dropping off of some of my conventional work and growing into other areas for this podcast or future podcast developments that we have, or, some type of really a transformation for who I describe myself as a contribution in the world.
Hmm.
And I'm back to saying that the touchstone to make this occur lands in the world of art somewhere.
Mm.
Like, in order for me to really undo and then redo my life, art is at the center. Like, I have to come home to art and creation and that space in order to get the paradigmatic shift of my own personal identity. Is that unique to me, or do you resonate with that, or have you seen that with other patrons of the Curious Forge, or what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, no, I resonate with that. There's something I know for me when I paint or I write, there's something that gets relieved inside. So maybe there's some mounting tension about whatever it is, and art relieves that. And so that's why I call it healing. And I know from other people that, when they're not creating, they don't feel quite right. It is part of how they make the world work for them
Hmm.
because they have that.
It is really amazing. First wheel I ever sat down at was in Israel. Actually, it was in Tzfat, Israel, and the little potter guy he's just extraordinary. He's got this shop. Invited me to come in one morning and just play with him. And so it was this ancient wheel, and it was one of the most extraordinary experiences of my life, actually. Just
Wow.
like, it was like, oh, I was just expecting this to just be a couple hours of, you know, learn something
Or play.
or play. But it hit at a level that was, gosh, like, banal, like core, like fundamental humanity. And I guess his conversation was a little bit about God. It was about that we are creatures of God and therefore creators. And so when we get to create from the earth, as ceramics is, we are carrying out God's work, on the potter's wheel. And from there, I got a new sense of what my hands could do by
Yes.
pressing
Yeah.
here or moving there or creating a space there. And also the dance of the pedal, and the dance of the speed. And then, it really was something that lit me up
That's great.
It really was great. And it is great. It's sort of like something I had been working so hard to be, Cosmo, like to be a doc, to be
Right.
a stiff shirted tie wearing. I wasn't really ever that, but close headed in that direction. And here it was like running into something that I've had hidden for a number of decades that was now being let out of its cage or released
Yeah.
into
So
the
it sounds
world.
like you were surprised by that.
I was more than surprised. I really
Yeah.
was. Thought I was, oh, I'm not going to be a very good potter, and I'm not. I mean, it takes practice, but there's no such thing as, isn't that interesting? There's like no such thing as not being a good potter. It's
I
like,
know, especially with clay. It's so organic and
yeah.
you're molding it and your hands are in it.
Hmm.
And we like to say, I mean, we have relationships with people, right? Well, in here you learn about relationships with different materials.
Hmm.
Like you'll have a different experience when you're in the metal shop, welding and cutting things
Hmm.
and so through that you develop this relationship with that material and there's all these different materials. So it touches different parts of you. And we always encourage people to try different areas because you never know. You might think, oh, that's not for me, but then you do it and it's like, oh my gosh, I never thought about the possibilities.
Well, you're right. I got, I was in one of the courses in glass blowing and I made myself a pretty beautiful paperweight. And I just thought, well, let's give this a try. I got the afternoon off. Let me go see what this is. And it hit home again. It hit, in a core space, deep in my personhood to be there and watch how glass gets blown or created. And then, with the wood, it's the same kind of thing. At the laser cutter, there's just like what? Wow, it's astounding, smart art or the
Right.
3D printer that we created in the back or what, I guess we're still
The ceramobot.
it's Ceramabot. We're working on that thing. My goodness. And, and then back in the metal area, like you said, the level of heat and the masks and the bendability and
Right.
the malleability, but yet the permanent nature of the completed product is like keeps its shape. Isn't that interesting? I do something and now that's what these hands or this mind or this imagination created. And there's nowhere else that, I suppose you mentioned poetry. That's another a very real creative activity. Where you called yourself a poet, say a little bit more about that. A writer, a poet. Where has that interfaced with this part of your artistic life?
Well, I started, I've always written on and off. I'm not classically trained or anything, but I started some classes here locally with a gal named Maxima Khan, who's a great poet and a great teacher. And, it's a group of 6 to 8 people, and you learn how to, critique each other's work. You help each other with what you got going. And 6 of us have stayed doing that for like 8 years now. We still meet every month and share poetry. But it touches a part of me that's so, I think, young and innocent that I love that. And people have responded to my work. I'm always trying to capture some way to express a moment or an experience, or it's a call to action, usually to myself, on how to get through tough stuff. So it's a big support for me, like I say, for relieving that tension sometimes when, for whatever reason, I'm wrestling with something or I'm just called to, I want to express this.
Are you writing more or less or about the same in the last year?
About the same.
Has the theme stayed the same, or is there a little more with the losses externally and internally changes? Is there a shift in their theme, or are you really just still coming from the same space of how to get through tough stuff?
I would say it's the same because I even wrote a poem like how to live through a pandemic and just exploring, how can we do this the best way possible? I wasn't bemoaning it. It was like, do things that support yourself, do things that support others, look at all the creativity around because there were a lot of creative things that came out of this, out of necessity and need, and, look towards that part of the human spirit. There's a
Hmm.
great Fred Rogers quote about his mother that when he was young and he'd see something, upsetting going on, and she would say, look at the helpers, look at all the people helping. So
Mm-hmm.
the focus wasn't on that terrible thing going on, but that look at that out there, that humanity that is showing up.
It is. It really is. It's beautiful. It's humbling. It's astonishing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all of that. You're right. And I think in Nevada County where we live, it's even upgraded. There's just a sense of we are here. It's, and you don't
Yes.
have to know your neighbor. You don't have to. It's like there's something about a reliable community here that I'm not certain of it. I don't know everybody here. I'm not certain, but there is a sense of safety, camaraderie, community, having each other's back and not, and then being there in the face of any kind of either catastrophe or, act of that in order to get through, we're going to have to hang on with each other.
Oh, yes. And I think you're absolutely right about this area. You see how people show up. You see how the whole town showed up when the Paradise Fire happened, and people were putting people up in homes and, or doing during fires with all the help that people give each other. It is one of the most beautiful things. And you don't know who that person next to you is, politically or whatever. And it doesn't matter because we show up because we are part of this community. And I do agree that there's a lot of confidence in me about this community doing that because they do it over and over. They did it to save the theaters. They did it to support artists with all the grants they did. So it's an absolutely beautiful thing.
It really is beautiful. And, we signed, when we came here last year, we signed a 1-year lease, and we're both pretty nomadic by nature and, can easily, at least up until now, sort of stop in, drop out, and take off.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what we just, we just signed a lease immediately. I mean, it was like, all right, we're here.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that's kind of cool. I don't even remember a place that grabbed me like that. And it is something about all things being here, including, and really notwithstanding, and in some ways, one of the largest pieces being the Curious Forge. There's also, we have the co-op and we have the stream and we have a lot of nature. We have the Yuba River. We have, the theater, at least hopefully the reopening theater and the couple downtowns in Nevada City and Grass Valley. And gosh, it is the weather and the aesthetically beautiful. And there's a creativity that is just constantly oozing
Yes.
out of Nevada County.
Yeah, I mean, it's remarkable for
It
our
really
size
is.
how much we have here with the art, musicians, artists, filmmakers, everything.
Yeah.
We used to joke, it's like, you'd have so many choices in the weekend, you didn't know where to start because there was so much going on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty amazing what everyone here has built, and so cool to see these things from their inception. I saw Briar Patch get started. I saw the Center for the Arts, and look what they've become.
They're very substantial. Very
Yeah.
substantial. Yes. And so where did you grow up?
Well, I'm an Air Force brat. So I was actually born in Florida, but we moved progressively more out west, ended up in Southern California when my dad retired. So I was 13 when we moved here. So I'm pretty much a Californian and lived down there, Santa Cruz, San Francisco before coming up here.
But how long was it before you came here? I mean, when was it that you came here?
1989.
Okay. So you've been here for...
It's the longest I've lived anywhere in my life because I was a nomad being Air Force brat.
For sure, yes. And so is it you see a lot of the remnants of the gold mining, all over, little tools or vehicles or, references to this happened here in that year, this was invented here. And, there was a rush. The gold rush was right here to
right.
Grass Valley, Nevada County, and Nevada City and all. And is that part of this? Is that part of the resilience, do you think? Does it go back to 1849? Or because it does sometimes feel like that to me. What's your take on that?
Well, I've heard someone say that, yeah, it's still the gold in the land that creates this incredible vortex we're in. So I don't know. There's a lot of interest and pride in that history. People coming out not knowing what they were going to find and starting a life and taking a risk and things like that. So I would think a lot of that energy is still infuses the area, And
I
there's a
think
lot,
so.
so there's people, willing to go out and do stuff and create and, hang in there and all of that.
We're sitting here now in 2021. What are your dreams for 2022, 2026, 5 years from now, and maybe 2031 and beyond? What do you see? And you can expand this beyond the forge. You can even go personal here and, your life and who you now get to be and the future 1, 5, and 10 years from now. Any ideas about that?
Well, we really, in terms of the forge, we really want to get it to, it's thriving now, but we'd love it to thrive about 3 times as much because we have that capacity. So, I want to see it grow to a certain point and we want to see it continue. We want to leave this legacy. And what that'll look like, we don't have a clue right now, but we want to leave it in good hands and in a really solid state.
Hmm.
And we're getting there, monthly we, gain in that way. And then for me, I do want to travel more, want to probably volunteer in other areas in the county because I really believe in that. And, just continue to really pay attention to relationships because in the end, I think that's really all you have.
Hmm.
And you lose people, you reflect on that, and you remind yourself to be more in touch with people and be more in touch in a deeper way because it matters. And I want to matter to other people. I want them to know they matter to me.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think more and more of that and more inner peace, honestly.
Right, inner peace. So, are you one who meditates? Are you one who takes walks in the woods? Are you one, what is it? What is your go to when things get a little bit out of control in the peace of mind category?
Yeah, I don't actually meditate exactly, but I will spend time in my house quietly with nothing going on and sit on the couch and just be,
That's
which I
nice.
guess I
That's
guess that is
awesome.
kind of meditation, but just to, just let myself be there, experience the air. I guess it's taking a bit of a pause, but it's also not a pause to keep things out, but a pause to what's in here, what's really being wanted. So I take that time and I work with different modalities, something called idetics, which I meet with people weekly, and it's a modality that helps you really get past some of those, those habitual thoughts or your history that is impinging on your now because it's not even true anymore. So I have that practice. And yeah, and I do live on 12 acres. It is easy for me, and I take advantage of it to just walk out my door and walk onto the property and be in nature.
Hmm. So, where is the wisdom? It seems like you're growing into sort of a respect or a reverence for your own humble wisdom. So, who you've become and now who you get to be for others. Like paying it back. Like
Hmm.
having acquired what you acquire, you now get to be something large for the community, for others, for you know artists of all levels to come and create what matters to them. Where are the difficulties? Where are the spaces where you better continue to pay attention, or this needs extra effort or a surge of extra activity?
Hmm.
Tough question. You don't, it's like,
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean,
where are the biggest challenges, I guess? Maybe let's put it that way.
well, this will sound funny, but people are going to be your biggest challenge.
Yeah.
Your relationships, certainly in the forge, being in the position of leadership, there's difficult questions that we have to deal with, difficult situations. And I do have to stay on top of my tendency to contract because I don't respond as well from that place. I want to be open to that person and, collaborate on coming to a solution. And so that's a, ongoing effort. I fall down sometimes, I have to pick myself up, but I am someone who can say, I messed that up. I wanted to do this better and learn from it. So I'm quite willing to do that.
In between now and when they, close the books on our life, like if all of this happened, do you have a place where you could say that was a life well lived? Or are you already there perhaps? And that'd be great if that answers yes. Is there a piece that is still here in front of you that it's like, yep, when that's done, I'll be able to put my stake in the ground and say that was a life completely well lived?
Yeah, yeah, good question. You know, I am very happy with where I'm at, and I know there's more. There's more for me to living true to myself. My older brother died, and I just knew he was a person who lived true to himself with his interests and what he did in life. And at the time, I just was inspired. It's like, I want to do that. I want to make sure I live true to myself. And that became a quest. And now with my younger brother recently dying, and experiencing him through all his friends and all the people who knew and loved him, and seeing what a high caliber person he was, how much he cared. And it's like, I want to make sure that I leave people with that feeling that, I wanted to help them, I cared for them, I wanted to support them, and I'll feel good about that if I
That's
can say
great.
I done that.
Well, Kara, you have actually done that already. And, we once once something we want to do gets done, it then gets put in the past as not so difficult because after all, we already did it. So, if we've already done it, then it's not anything in front of us that we need to do anymore. And it wasn't so difficult because if it had been so difficult, then it would still be out there for us to do. But since we did it, it must not have been so hard to get done. And so we never really get to register our own accomplishments. But I'd like to take a moment here to register your accomplishment in creating the center in what we've already described correctly as an extraordinary community, anyways. You've created the creative center of this county, of this, maybe even of all of Northeastern California, really. And, really, that's you. This is what you've done. This is here and will outlive you. And, as a resident of this community, I'm so grateful and so thankful that you took this on, and it is already just a truly extraordinary space for makers.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate hearing that. And you're right, we do need to acknowledge and celebrate where we're at and not put it in the past too quickly, and appreciate yourself for it as you look forward to what more you want to do.
Yeah, we take this down to a little bit one more granular level, and we start seeing that, it goes beyond plannings and wanting and wishing, and it even goes beyond meetings and investing and renting, and it goes even beyond, visioning, and then collaborating, and then co-creating, and then all the people who are, in fact, like you said, the number one challenges of the whole process are the people that you have to either work with or ask from, or take orders from, or deal with, or tolerate, or emulate, or satisfy. That's before you even get started.
Yeah, it's true.
And I mean, all those things have to be in place, and then you have to be unified, and then you have to make purchases and make commitments and make, declarations. And then you have to begin to create in an atmosphere that allows people to not only share their creations, but to train others, to teach others, to be role models, to make mistakes, to stand up to their mistakes, to own mistakes and impacts of, disappointments. And don't forget to manage your family and your day job. If you're a
Right.
software developer, or you have, or a father or a mother or a sister or a brother, and all the grief and losses, and don't forget the fires, and don't forget, and also don't forget to brush your teeth, and don't forget to make lunch.
Get
It's
that
like,
dentist appointment.
yeah, it's like, and we do all that. We do all that pretty well. And then once it gets in the past, it's just another day.
Hmm.
If we
Hmm.
don't spend time looking at the myriad of things that has to get juggled and developed in order to get the next thing even close to done,
Right,
then
right.
boy, we're missing out on something. It's like, oh, wait, I'm a miracle. Oh my God.
That's another thing I would say about sitting in my house when it's totally quiet and not doing anything is life is amazing. Life is utterly fascinating.
Right.
And if you do that at least every week, your life stays rich. It doesn't get bogged down.
Isn't that great?
Because all that other stuff will bog you down.
It will. And that's amazing too. It's amazing that we forget how amazing life is.
Yes. That's why we love babies. I mean, babies are like in wonder about this existence. And you get to see that and it reminds you.
Awesome. Beautiful. Kara, how can people get a hold of you if they want to email you or they want to follow you or learn from you or collaborate or offer or make a deal with or just, be amused by?
Sure.
How can people get a hold of you?
Happy to have people write me. That would be at Kara, Kara, at blacklionart.com. I'd love to hear from people.
What is Black Lion Art?
That's my art website. Black lion as in the animal art, because my name, Kara Asilanis, translates from the Greek to black lion. So that's how I got that. Oh. So yeah, that's my art site.
And you have a gallery or a website of some of your paintings, or is it?
That's on the blacklionart.com site.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Awesome. Well, Kara, is there anything you want to say? We're kind of at a space where it's time to wind down. Is there anything you want to say to our listeners or to me or to the world at large? Is there a space here for, what you would like to speak to and maybe even make a declaration or a statement about how things are or how things could be?
Well, first, I do want to thank you for this opportunity. Really enjoyed it. And, I want people to really believe in what they want, that they deserve to have it, whatever it is. But I mean things, not just things, but like inner peace or more ease or more connection. It's worth going for. There's ways to do it. And enjoy your life. Just enjoy your life with whatever it brings. And sometimes it's hard stuff, but there is much to be gained from every experience and not veer away from experience.
Amen. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks.
Kara Asilanis, thank you. Let me say your name. I don't want to say it wrong. How do we say the last name again?
Asilanis.
Asilanis. Okay, cool. Kara, it's been a deep pleasure getting to know you, and thank you for letting us really explore some of the intricacies of what it is to be you, and really an opportunity to see who you are for our community and for the world at large. Again, condolences for your losses this year, and it's been a deep honor and pleasure to have you on our episode today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Fred. It's been an honor for me too. Thanks.
Awesome.
Hey, welcome to Humanity Family. It's Ryan Levesque here, co-producer of the show. I truly hope you enjoyed Dr. Fred's in-depth conversation today. If you did, and if the conversations we share each week are making a difference for you, could you please take just a moment to leave a rating and a short review on Apple Podcasts? Your enthusiastic review helps new listeners discover the show. Your support here really does make a difference. I'd also like to invite you to reach out to a friend or two who would appreciate today's episode. Maybe shoot them a quick text or email, or maybe pick up the phone and invite them to subscribe to the Welcome to Humanity podcast so they can be enriched from the discovery of amazing ideas and insights each week. As always, you can find past episodes along with the complete show notes and links at welcometohumanity.net/podcast. If you'd like to explore how working one-on-one with Dr. Fred can help you break through whatever challenges you might be facing with your mental health or well-being, leading to new levels of freedom and vitality, I invite you to reach out to us directly by emailing Dr. Fred at welcometohumanity.net. That's DRFRED at welcometohumanity.net. Thanks so much for listening, and keep an ear out for another captivating conversation next week. Have a beautiful day, a beautiful week, and indeed, a beautiful life. Welcome to Humanity.